Down one more.
Mom, seriously? Mom, seriously? I feel like I'm in church, Mom.
You can, I don't, because of that. Okay. I would like to determine there is a quorum. Absent is trustee Larisha Thornton. She called and she will not be here. And John Hines is here. John Newman is here. He is just not in the building yet. We'd like to do the Pledge of Allegiance, and for those who are able, a moment of silence. You'll remain standing for a moment of silent prayer, please. Thank you. The first item on the agenda, Chief Densmore is going to present honors to some of our firefighters.
Good evening, Township officials. I have two individuals of the fire department that have made rank from their current rank to advancement to some retirements. So what I will do is I will do the first one. This is now Captain Scott Garinger. Scott, if you raise your right hand for me, please, sir. It says, I will lead my fire company to the best of my ability with fairness and no prejudice. I will at all times respect the property and rights of all men and women, the laws of my country, and members that I currently serve with. I recognize the badge of my office as a symbol of public faith and trust, and I accept it so long as I am true to the ethics of the fire service. Congratulations. We also have Class A firefighter moved up to Lieutenant Nick Dunleavy. So Nick, have you raise your right hand for me? I will at all times respect the property and rights of all men and women within the laws of my country and the members I serve with. I recognize the badge of my office, excuse me, is a symbol of public faith and trust, and I accept so long as I am true to the ethics of the fire service.
I do.
Congratulations.
Appreciate it.
No, just, thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for your service and congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's all I have. Thank you very much.
Trustee Newman has arrived. The next item is to do the approval of the agenda. This is new, so motion and support would be in order. Motion Peterson.
Support.
Support Eldridge. Discussion or questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The next item is a consent agenda, which are the minutes of the February 4th, 2025 regular meeting and statements and checks, as well as the treasurer's report.
So moved.
Motion Eldridge.
Support Peterson.
Support Peterson. Are there any corrections to the minutes?
I had something, but no.
Trustee Lovejoy wrote.
Thank you. I was wondering if we could just pull out statements and checks. Have that voted on separately.
The motion is for the entire consent agenda. So you don't, do you want to talk, you don't want to
I
talk
didn't,
about it under the motion? You want a separate motion?
well, in the past, we didn't need a motion, but I mean, to pull out an item that someone wanted to have voted separately. I'm going to vote on all the consent agenda. I just didn't want to vote on the statements and checks.
Okay.
So if we could just pull that out separately.
We would need another, let me ask for a friendly amendment to separate out if trustee Eldridge and trustee Peterson will accept to pull out the minutes, so it's done separately, we can do that.
This is statements and checks.
I'm sorry, statements and checks.
Yes.
Thank you.
I
Okay.
have a question, just for information.
Trustee
So
Peterson?
I think we're right at the point, minutes and, where?
And treasurer's report, with
and
statements and
check-
checks
Okay.
being separate,
And she wants the statements and checks to be separate from the minutes? Is that what she's saying?
and the treasurer's report, yeah.
Can I ask some clarification of why? I guess I don't
Yeah, I just-
understand.
Wait,
Yeah.
point of information, lady.
Okay.
We're not going to,
Okay,
we're going to do it order.
is it okay?
Yes.
Supervisor
Some,
Stumble, thank you.
So the question was, just for procedural-wise, trustee Peterson, is we have allowed to pull out one of the agenda items and vote separately on them, so people who don't want to vote on all three items can vote no on one.
I have the clarification, thank you. That's fine with me, thank you.
So the motion before us is to approve the minutes of the February 14th, 2025 regular meeting and the treasurer's report for January of 2025. Yes. So there's a motion to approve the consent agenda for the minutes and the treasurer's report. Motion was by Eldridge, support was by Peterson. All in favor of approving the minutes of the meeting and the treasurer's report?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The next item on the consent agenda are the minutes of the statements and checks. A motion is in order.
So moved, Peterson.
Motion Peterson,
Support.
support Eldridge. Statements and checks are now properly before us.
Madam Chairman?
Yes.
I just want to make a comment. I'm going to be voting no because I've asked, I think since December, for a detailed breakdown invoice of the McLean Winters bill and haven't been able to get that. So for that reason, I'm not comfortable voting on just a flat item of $155,000 without having the detailed backup. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments?
So point of clarification, that document is available for trustees to review and has been available since last month.
Madam Supervisor?
Wait. So, just so I'm clear, the clerk's office has them available for the trustees to review the detailed billing. Trustee Lovejoy Rowe?
Thank you. That was true, I think, at the last meeting, but we only have 1 hour window for that. And I explained that doesn't work for me. I have other obligation right before this meeting on every Tuesday. Actually, every Tuesday of every month. So Tuesdays don't work for me for that hour.
So they were made available. They just weren't made available at the time that you could make it.
Well, what, they weren't, I asked for a copy of them, which we have a right to. We don't have to come in and sit at a desk to review something that we have a right to actually have a copy of it, just like the supervisor clerk and the treasurer get. So that's what I asked for, is a copy. But what was provided was I could come in an hour before the board meeting, sit in a chair and review what I'd requested. So I'm guessing it is what I requested, but I can't, and I explained that I can't come during that time. That was the end of the conversation.
All right, so we should look at a different.
Point of clarification, the board voted not to give a copy. So the copy was requested to have a copy, and the board voted not to give a copy of that document.
Which had been past practice, but if we could look at other hours for trustees to view it, and then if there's any way I can help with that, I would be happy to as well. So we have a motion and support to approve the statements and checks. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
One opposed? Lovejoy Rowe. Number 6 is the attorney's report.
Madam Chair, as all of you are aware, you continue to receive a great deal of updates in regards to a number of issues. Some of them are economic, some of them are labor-related, many of them are also development-related. In fact, I think the county treasurer's here this evening, and after our meeting with her and her attorney, we've also been in contact with the county board, and there may be yet still some opportunity for us to partner with the county in terms of the redevelopment of Gallup Village. So that's something that we want to at least continue to forge those partnerships with the county, both at the treasurer level and the county board of commissioners, and to see how we can leverage our resources in a way that's going to make it a win-win for all those impacted by the court-ordered demolition of the former Gallup Village shopping center. In addition to that update, we have spent a great deal of time, and you've seen a great number of letters in regards to a number of ongoing issues involving the Arbor One apartments, which are located both in the city of Ypsilanti as well as the township. The only division is LaForge Road, which separates those apartment complexes and townhomes. The city has had a number of challenges in regards to bringing those apartment units into compliance. We have met with them and have explored with them our knowledge and our history in terms of holding landlords accountable. At the same time, we also have scheduled inspections for the township portion of Arbor One, and we've also met with the new management team for Arbor One and made it quite clear that I think sometimes it's a misnomer that it's great that we all support affordable housing, but that housing still has to be livable. And what we have seen right now is I think we're seeing somewhat of a slide down in the wrong direction in regards to making housing livable as well as affordable. And from some of the conditions we've seen over on the city side and some of the things we have seen on the township side over the years, it's absolutely critical that we hold everyone accountable in regards to how they maintain their properties. We've also been working, I think, very closely with State Senator Jeff Irwin, as well as State Representative Jimmy Wilson and County Commissioner Annie Somerville in regards to getting our arms around the issue as to how many housing vouchers have been issued by MISTA, which, as you know, is the Michigan State Housing Development Authority. They have issued a number of housing choice vouchers, and their rent goes directly into the bank account of the landlord each month. At the same time, they have very specific obligations to inspect those units as well. And I understand that COVID was a problem for a lot of agencies, but that's behind us now. That's in the rearview mirror. And right now, we have to understand how many vouchers have been issued, because all those housing commissions, including the ones here in Washtenaw County, and actually there's a couple in Wayne County, they issue portable housing vouchers, including the city, the Plymouth Housing Commission, as well as the Inkster Housing Commission. They too have a responsibility to inspect those units, and if they are deemed to be in violation, they have the right also to abate those monthly payments until such time as those units are brought into compliance. And so right now, we have set aside, with Melinda Kingsley and Chief Dave Bellers, the building chief, to actually inspect all the units, and we have made it quite clear that we intend to not allow any of the housing units on that side of the township to become, in my opinion, unlivable, as we've seen happen in other parts. In addition to those issues, the township is scheduled to have a planning commission hearing on February 25th to consider the site plan for the new Culver's Restaurant. This will be located, if approved and acquired from the township, it'll be located next to Aldi's on Huron Street, Whitaker Road. At the same time, the township board will still be receiving here in the near future a development agreement for the Sheetz 24-hour gas station that's been approved for Michigan Avenue near Hewitt. The one issue that I continue to try and share with the board continues to create consternation is what are we as a county doing in regards to truly addressing the issue of firearm violence. Everybody is very much supportive of reducing firearm violence, but yet there seems to be at times a conflict between what is said and what is actually done. This all began back in October of last year when one of our employees arrived at the Parks and Maintenance Garage at 6 o'clock in the morning, and lying in wait was a person who, for no reason, ambushed him, produced a gun, put it to his head, threatened to kill him, and after other employees began arriving, the employee that was threatened was able to sort of talk down the situation, and that person left. Immediately, the Washtenaw County was dispatched, and I know Lieutenant Teese is here tonight, and through the efforts of the men and women of the Sheriff's Office, they apprehended this person that very same morning, and they recovered the weapon. They also recovered the 50 rounds of ammunition, et cetera, et cetera. What then began as an odyssey for, I think, the Township Board, especially Supervisor Stumbo, Treasurer Eldridge, and myself, is that we began going through the court system and starting with the fact right now that this person was not charged with a felony firearm. That was probably the first shock wave that we felt, because in Michigan and most every county that I can think of, except probably maybe what's going on here in Washtenaw, if you commit a felony using a firearm, it's called felony firearm. It doesn't mean you have to be a felon to be charged with that crime. It means that you are using a gun in the commission of a felony. It could be a carjacking. It could be domestic violence. It could be any number of robberies situations. But you can be charged with felony firearm. And why that is so important and why it's become an issue here is a felony firearm requires the court to sentence that individual to a mandatory 2 years. Mandatory 2 years is to be served prior to serving the conviction for the underlying crime that you may have committed. So if your sentence is 2 years and 4 months for felonious assault, then you get 2 years for the felony firearm. You do those 2 years before you do the 2 years, 4 months. What we found out and have continued to raise concerns about is, in this case, this person also happened to be a felon and had been in prison for 11 years for criminal sexual conduct. And when he came out, cut off his tether and was resentenced again to probation. For the last number of months, we've been to court on 7 separate occasions and have seen that case adjourned on seven separate occasions. I have written and I have basically done anything I can possibly do myself to plead with the prosecuting attorney to utilize the felony firearm statute, and for reasons that I cannot explain, have chosen not to do so. Not only in this case, but in dozens and dozens of cases that have occurred throughout Washtenaw County. I say that because in the context of what I just said, this past week, there was an article in the M-Live newspaper where the Michigan State Police, in conjunction with the Michigan Department of Corrections and many other law enforcement agencies, completed a number of checkups on those who are not legally allowed to even possess handguns or firearms, and they have so far actually recovered over 800 illegal weapons. And their issue and their goal is to remove from those individuals weapons that can do great violence and harm to people going about their everyday lives. And in that same week, there was another article of another individual, this lady who had been victimized by domestic violence, was found killed in Detroit. They had that person in custody, and reviewing that person's record, he's got 5 outstanding cases here in Washtenaw County. 5 of them are still, they've been going on since 2022. Have no clue as to how that person could possibly be out on bond, given the charges and the register of actions that are recorded in the Washtenaw County courthouse. All that is to say right now is that as we go through the winter months, and pretty soon, you may not feel like it today, spring will come as well as summer, and that's when a lot of things usually start to become a real issue for the sheriff's office as you go through those spring, summer, fall months. And I really would challenge right now that that the county right now is saying one thing, but the evidence appears to be totally belies what people are saying. If you're really committed to reducing firearm violence, if you're really committed to removing guns off the street, if you're really committed to making sure that those weapons are not going to be used to commit violence against individuals who've already been victimized by domestic violence, then 2025 should be the year in which we really see those words put into action. And right now, we're going to continue to monitor this one case. But believe you me, I can tell you from what I've seen and over the course of my practice and what I think the supervisor and treasurer have also seen and witnessed themselves during the last number of months, what we're seeing in the court does not come close in any way, shape, or form to actually really making a statement against seeing cases upon cases, dismissed. And there's a place in the court system, we understand, for plea bargaining, but not to what we're seeing over here right now. And so this case opened up a lot of eyes in regards to what's going on in the county, and I appreciate Lieutenant Tietz and all of his staff he oversees in the township, because they're out there every day putting their lives on the line, and they're the ones coming into contact with individuals who have used weapons or have weapons on them and maybe fleeing from a crime scene where weapons have been used. And unless we send a strong message that firearm violence is not going to be tolerated in Washtenaw County, I really have a lot of grave concerns going forward as to where some of these actions are taking us. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Winters. Any questions or comments on that? I do know that our sheriff department, or the office of the sheriff, is the new terminology, but our lieutenant and the deputies are submitting the cases requesting the charges, but they aren't the people who actually charge it. So it's either the prosecutor or, and that goes to the judge. So it has been interesting, but a lot of it's on Zoom court, and it's really hard to hear. But I think once they get back in person, that you can hear more and understand what has been going on. There's been, 7 adjournments with our case, Doug? That's too long for victims. So it is an issue. I'm not sure how to fix it, because it's not in our control. And I know Treasurer Eldridge met with Eli Savitt, the prosecutor, and he assured you, didn't he, that they were prosecuting them? I think, if I'm correct.
His comments were specifically that they, over the last 4 years, had charged roughly 81 cases with felony firearm. In comparison to the previous 4 years of his predecessor, that was just over 100. However, the current prosecutor did not elaborate as to how many of those 81 cases actually went through the entire trial process or were dismissed at some point throughout the case.
Thank you for that information. We'll keep trying. The next item on the agenda is new business, which is Resolution 2025-02, which is the Owner's Dam Safety Program.
A motion to approve the resolution?
Motion Lovejoy Rowe,
Support.
support Eldridge. Clerk Swenson.
Resolution number 2025-02, Sorry. Owner Dam Safety Program. Whereas the Charter Township of Ypsilanti and Washtenaw County, Michigan, currently holding a license with the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, FERC, to operate the Ford Lake Hydroelectric Project, number 5334, and whereas the FERC requires the Charter Township of Ypsilanti to develop, implement, fund, and continue to support the ODSP per the FERC guideline for the project until such time that the Charter Township of Ypsilanti releases ownership or the project is no longer under the jurisdiction of the FERC. And whereas the ODSP document clearly defines the responsibility for the Charter Township of Ypsilanti and its employees and consultants, and whereas the purpose of this resolution is not new to the Charter Township of Ypsilanti, but rather a rededication to dam safety and the responsibilities that come with owning the project. And whereas by the action of this document, the Charter Township of Ypsilanti is showing the commitment to the FERC to operate a safe project prioritizing safety over any other goals, and now therefore it be resolved that the Charter Township of Ypsilanti Board of Trustees acknowledges the Owner's Dam Safety Program to maintain compliance with the FERC and define the role of Charter Township of Ypsilanti related to the project.
Thank you. Questions or comments regarding the Owner's Dam Safety Resolution that we do every year? It's required. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 2 is a litigation to abate a public nuisance at a property identified as 2635 Woodruff Lane, which is budgeted.
So moved.
Motion Eldridge,
Support.
support Lovejoy Rowe. Director Kingsley.
Good evening, Board. Belinda Kingsley, Community Compliance Director. The house at 2635 sustained significant fire damage in July of '24. We've been in contact with the property owner since that time and have allowed sufficient time for him to work through the insurance claim process. And he's had a couple of different plans that he's thrown out for the house, but at this point, he has collected his insurance money and taken no steps to either rehab or demo the house on the property. And it's a blighted situation that you would not want to live next to, and also an attractive nuisance in the neighborhood. While it's secured, a lot of times these places become unsecured and people get inside, and we would not want children to get inside or squatters to move in. And we're seeking approval to have our legal counsel request a court to release the $495 funds that the township is holding that would allow us to demo the house on the property.
We have a motion support. Are there questions and comments regarding this?
So, Madam Chair.
Clerk Swenson.
Belinda, I'm sorry, I should ask this question ahead of time, but so if the funds are released, will it also include assessment for vermin so that if the demolition takes place, it doesn't push vermin out into the neighboring properties.
Yes, we would have, or can do an inspection prior to the demolition. We have not had any complaints about that from neighbors at this point. In the spring, it may be different, but we definitely would have it reviewed by Orkin before, so that we don't scatter it into the neighborhood.
Other comments? Yes. Trustee Newman?
After the property is demolished, will it be available for sale to, like, the neighbors?
Mr. Wynn?
Actually, after it's demolished, it'll still be owned by the person who owns it now. Whether or not he continues to make the payment on the taxes remains to be seen. If not, it would end up going through foreclosure, or he could sell it to the neighbors on his own. The problem with this case, from my standpoint, is that this house been in this condition since July, boarded up, burned out, and the homeowner, the landlord rather, actually kind of led the building department down the wrong direction, because he said he had a contractor lined up and was going to go back in there and rehabilitate the property. And when we demanded a copy of the contract to see whether or not that contract was going to be adequate, that's when he said that he wasn't going to do anything. This property's been sitting there in July in that condition, and it's not fair to people driving down the street and neighbors going to visit other people to see this house of the way the condition that it's in. But in terms of what becomes of the property, it may be up to him to decide what he wants to do with it, if he wants to sell it. It's a shame that, you don't want to lose housing stock, and he's got the financial means to have cleared this out and to make it more attractive maybe for someone to rehabilitate, but he chose not to. That $15,000 came about because we are very aggressive in making sure that those funds are escrowed whenever a fire does occur for this very purpose. But it's not our goal to see a house demolished if we can bring it and save it. But at this point in time, we've exhausted all those options, but it remains to be seen what happens with that property once it's demolished.
Any other questions?
Just one more. So we, the taxpayers, are paying for the demolishment of the property, yet the person still owns it.
No, we're not paying. We're going to be using the funds. See, when a fire occurs, the township immediately notifies the insurer, which in this case, I can't remember which one it was. There's been a fire, and they're required to escrow a certain amount of dollars with the township for us to hold until such time as the house is rehabilitated. So Stan received a check for $15,000 plus. That was the amount that was required back in 2024. So the funds that we'll be using to demolish it will not be township funds, will be the funds that he will place in escrow. But we're going to be making sure the township is made whole by ensuring that any costs we incur are going to also be included in a court order in regards to the demolition and cleanup. It's just that, again, it wasn't anyone's goal for the township to see it demolished, but if he chose not to walk away with the settlement, the $15,000 was actually money that the insurance company escrowed with the township. So we're using those funds.
Good question. Any other comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Number 3, thank you, Belinda, is to accept the resignation of Marcia Kraykar and Janet Willett from the Zoning Board of Appeals effective immediately.
So moved, Peterson.
Motion Peterson,
Support, Rowe.
support Rowe. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 4 is the appointment of Erica Hayes from alternate to regular member of the Zoning Board of Appeals with a term ending 12/31 of 27.
So moved.
Motion Rowe,
Support.
support Eldridge. Questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Under authorization of bids, We have to accept the bid from RNA Facilities Management for vacant township property mowing for a 2-year contract in the amount of $77,846 per year, which is budgeted. A motion and support is in order.
So moved.
Motion Eldridge,
Support.
support Newman. Hello, Mr. Hines.
Good evening, John Hines, the Municipal Service Director. The Residential Services Department is looking to accept the bid from RNA Facilities Management for vacant township property mowing for a 2-year contract contingent on attorney review and bringing forward to the next meeting. And this would be for 29 properties across the township. And RNA was the second lowest bidder, and a thorough review was done of the lowest 3 bidders, including reference checks. And through those reference checks, talking with other municipalities that actually require more mowing than we do, RNA came out on top as one that was very well favored in their communication, their invoicing, and their service to those municipalities. So I do believe, due to their reputation and experience with municipal mowing, they would be the recommended choice for the township for the next 2 years.
Questions or comments? John, go ahead.
I was just going to ask a question.
Trustee Lovejoy Rowe.
Thank you.
I'm trying.
Because I know the bid between them and who we currently have is really, really close. I don't know, was there a problem with looking good? Why we didn't? I always know, like, on like waste management or big, like this is a big issue. It's always what you know instead of changing that when it's this close. I didn't know if there was an issue.
Yeah, no, I would not say there was an issue. It's just this bid was lower, and I think due to some of the feedback I heard from other municipalities, it was worth trying something different. I wouldn't say we had issues with them, but there's definitely some areas that I think this company might be able to better service the township that Looking Good quite did not do in that last time frame.
I just had a follow-up. I was looking, I know that they put down that they have a address somewhere in Ypsi, but I actually looked at them online and all their addresses had Ann Arbor addresses. So I don't know, did they get this is for RNA, did they get an address for this contract, or is that something new they've just moved here? Because I know I haven't like reviewed the financial policy. I mean, I don't know it like I used to, since it's new, since I got reelected, but I know there used to be a thing that we could go with the Washington County or with the township business if it was within a certain range and stuff too. So I was just wondering about that. I don't know.
Regionality is definitely a factor, and I base it off that Ypsilanti Township address. I did not do further digging into the history of the property.
Online, all their addresses are Ann Arbor. They have like 3 different addresses, one on Ellsworth, one on, I was looking at them and the other one, this other bidder that came in that was Capital Landscapes. But what was the reason why we didn't want to go with Capital since we're going with a lower bidder?
Employee references. I spoke to 2 of the references. I tried to call the third, left a voicemail, which was the City of Warren and the City of Ann Arbor. And the City of Ann Arbor has 200 properties that RNA services. The City of Warren has 400 properties. And they said, and with the rep that was listed on the bid package, Wayne, that he was a phenomenal communicator, that they have worked with other companies and not had the same level of service. And they actually, through their last bidding process, Ann Arbor said this, they went with the lower bidder, and after about 4 months into the agreement, went back to RNA just because of the dependable service and the issues they were having. You know, and I did do a walkthrough with him as well. He had some questions on our bid document, and even from that walkthrough, I could tell that he thoroughly went through the document and has a great kind of understanding on what we're looking for with this package.
Other questions or comment? I have just a couple questions to follow up. So it's $14,000 difference between the current, if I did my math right, between the recommended bidder that you're doing, but this is $5,000 less than 2 years ago, is that correct? Or
Correct. And the low bidder, I did do reference checks and did not quite get the favorable marks, but they're also located out of Oak Park, which A lot of our agreements stay strictly within the properties listed, but sometimes things pop up or new things are added and subtracted, which is outlined in the bid package. And having someone local is a bonus for that because sometimes things get added on a, I'd say a rushed nature, and having someone local has been beneficial in the past. But this contract is $5,000 less per year than it has been in the last 2-year agreement.
Right, so bidding it out, it came in lower than it was previously.
Yeah, and I'm actually, again, incredibly impressed. I mean, 9 bids for this agreement. When we did this 2 years ago, we were deciding between 3. So we've, tripled the amount of interest in that amount of time.
Right. So I just wanted to make sure, and then the contract will have to come back to the Township Board if it's approved, and we could dig more or ask more pointed questions about the location of their facility.
I'm curious about the address again, and I look at the GIS. I'll talk to assessing as well because they'll have more history on the address than I will, but I based it off that and, didn't look too much further, which, should have, I guess.
I Googled like those top 3s, and it was.
Trustee Lovejoy?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm going to get used to.
I know, me too.
Give me a little buzzer like the dogs have things, but it's a difference of, if I did it right, it's only a difference of $5,584 between RNA and Looking Good. Now, I thought you said 14.
14 was between the lowest bidder and the current, and the recommended bidder, so I was trying to garner understanding for that.
I just strongly, can I continue or not?
Pardon me?
Can I say one more thing?
Of course.
Yeah, before we vote and stuff, I'm probably going to vote no, because unless you can show me something different, because I looked at those 3 and researching where they're located, and I'm just all about Ypsi Township, and they pay their taxes here, they have businesses here, their stuff's here, and so I understand that you're trying to get somebody in at $5,000 is $5,000, but I just think supporting our own folks who have their businesses here is really important. I would be interested in knowing, but I know this isn't part of the contract, like who they hire to, are they Township, but I know we don't even do that ourselves, so. And I looked in there on the follow-up on terms of the wages and stuff. Do you get regular wage statements from them to make sure they're following the ordinances for the living wage ordinance and stuff? I didn't know if that's something that we've been doing, and if Looking Good did that, or if there was a problem.
It's not something that was done per the last agreement, but it is something that we need to, because we do include it as part of the contract terms.
It's in there.
Part of the bid.
Yeah.
The bids were all complete, right?
Yes, the bids were all complete.
Opening, everybody had all their documents there as required?
Yes.
There was one person that came in late.
Yeah, I was going to say, and we did note on the bid tab on the next sheet, there were a couple companies that did not have the insurance as requested and required. And then the last bid, we did include it as part of this obviously for transparency's sake, from Greenside Maintenance. It came in late, and their bid amount, we had to kind of do the arithmetic on, and myself and Deputy Clerk Rogers came up with that total of $12,116, which we know doesn't quite, make sense when you compare it to the rest of them and for the amount that we're asking of them. So there just was some confusion, it seems, from that Greenside Maintenance Corporation there.
They weren't considered, though, because they were late.
Exactly.
All right, we have a
Follow-up, I'm sorry.
Trustee.
Thank you. You just said something that piqued my ears. You said some of them didn't have their insurance in the bid?
Correct.
But that wasn't any of the ones that you or the ones that you're recommending?
Correct, no.
The package was
The
complete.
RNA had it. Capital did not, who was the low bidder. But Looking Good did have it, and we also have theirs on file from the last 2 years.
And RNA had their insurance there at the time of the opening?
Yes, they did.
Madam Supervisor?
Yes, Trustee Newman?
If I understand things correctly, the difference that you indicated between...
Could you speak into the microphone,
Okay.
please?
The difference between the two, the one we have now and the one that we chose, is the reliability and quality. because I'm trying to get an understanding, because when you spoke to different people or different places, you indicated that Looking Good did well, but RNA can do better. Is that my understanding?
That's a way to put it. Again, we've worked with Looking Good for many years, and I appreciate their communication. But when it came to the bids, bids was a factor, location was a factor, which we'll look more into. But trusting other municipalities and other individuals in facilities management, hearing their experience and honestly glowing reviews of this company really pushed it over the edge. Looking Good, like with any partnership, comes with its share of things you have to look into. And I just think the things that were highlighted by RNA, communication, follow-up, invoicing, were some of the things that had to be put a little bit of extra effort into our last agreement. And, I'd be looking forward to working with the new company and kind of seeing what they can showcase compared to what we've experienced.
Okay. Thank you.
We have a motion and support. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Opposed, row. Motion carries. The contracts will be brought back to the Township Board. Number 2 is to accept the bid from Looking Good Lawns for roadside trash collection for a 2-year contract in the amount of $30,240 per year, which is budgeted.
So moved.
Motion Eldridge.
Support.
Support Swanson. Mr. Hines?
Yep. John Hines, Municipal Service Director, and I'm requesting to award the bid to Looking Good Lawns LLC for roadside trash collection for a 2-year agreement in that amount of $30,240, which is budgeted in the 266 fund. And this bid was, Looking Good has done this agreement for the last 2 years, and we did bring this to the board last year to amend their agreement to focus on only roadside trash along 94 East and West between Michigan Ave and Rawsonville Road. Their price last year for the agreement was $28,000, so this is a slight increase, but it is still budgeted in that line. And there were only 2 bids received, one from Looking Good and then one from Mr. T's Outdoor. There is a $20,000 difference in those bids. So as I did with the mowing bid, I followed up with both companies. And when I spoke to Mr. T's, I spoke to the owner of the company, and he said that unfortunately, the person who bid the job did not quite understand the scope of it and was new to the organization, and it's not a bid that they could confidently move forward with. So Looking Good is, in fact, the lowest qualified bidder, but I would also recommend them due to that relationship of doing this work with the township over the last 2-year agreement and doing, a satisfactory job.
Questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. There's no other business before the board. Public comments. We do have 3 minutes, and if you would, you don't have to give your name, but if you're a township resident, that would be great. And this is the time we'll accept public comments.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Can I move this up? Yeah. Okay. Sure. My name is Letitia Lamel Sharp, and I'm no stranger to this board, but I wanted to publicly introduce myself. I am the Washtenaw County Treasurer. I was elected on November 6, 2024, and then I took office on December 5th, 2024, after the unexpected death of my predecessor, Catherine McCleary. I am here today for 2 reasons. One is I just wanted to let the board know and the public know that it's in our best interest for us to work together, and I want to be a regular fixture, I should say, coming to your meetings. So I'm looking forward to working with you and continuing that collaborative relationship that was started with Catherine. And I know that we can. I know everybody here on the board. But I also wanted to let the public know that we know that it's tax season now. And right now, our staff has been trying to get information out to all of the citizens. And I'm going to every township just to make sure that the taxpayers know that there are resources and services at the Washtenaw County Treasurer's Office that can help you with your taxes. I did bring with me tonight some flyers that I had sent to Supervisor Stumbo, but I will leave some in the back. And it's just to remind you of some of the services that we have offered. And also, but I wanted to bring light to, there were 200 letters that were sent out to the 48197 area code, particularly in Ypsilanti Township, about remaining proceeds if your home was foreclosed on and auctioned between 2015 and 2020. And all that information is here on the flyer. But the reason I wanted to come is because that deadline is coming to a close to March 31st, meaning that if there was any proceeds left over after that sale, you might be able to claim those proceeds. But you have to fill out the information. You have to do it before March 31st. So I have that information with me tonight. I will leave it in the back here. And if anybody have any questions for me, I'll stick around. And I look forward to working with this board. And I'm an Ypsilanti Township resident, so I'm part of the family here. Thank you.
Thank you so much and welcome. We can hand those out at Neighborhood Watch to the, yeah. Thank you so much. Are there any other public comments at this time?
Is this on?
Yes, it should be on.
All right, it's on.
I can hear you, yeah.
Jeremy Haley, Ypsi Township. The last county board meeting I was sitting at, and I was actually sitting next to the IT director for the Washtenaw County. And we struck up a conversation just by chance when they went out on closed session for a bit. I was talking about things and how you guys were looking into doing video and all that. And he gracefully gave me his name and number to pass on to you all as a resource that you can call on to for information how to possibly do it, if that would possibly help you out in any way to have another voice that actually has been doing it for a bit.
Yes. Thank you for that.
And I can give that to you after the meeting so I don't have to.
Thank you. Yeah, we have to.
And the other thing is the project on bridge and textile with the data center. Can you find out what the wattage, how much power they're going to draw to use it? And if they're going to try to access the power from the dam or not, or whatnot?
Okay.
It's just, I see these data centers being built all across the country and ideas, and they're putting them next to, and they're trying to start up old nuclear reactor sites too, and put these things next to. They draw a lot of power, and the ones that they have built use up to 5 gigawatts of power. 3 gigawatts of power is enough to power a city of 1 million people. I'm just concerned that little spot over there is going to suck enough power for all the Ypsilanti and Ypsi Township, this whole area, so they can have enough space to run the artificial intelligence to do what it's got to do.
Thank you. That's a good question. I'll find out.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Hearing none. Are there any board member comments or updates to provide? I just have a few. I did have a meeting with University of Michigan regarding the proposal, which really isn't formal yet, and talked about us doing some community partnerships with them for the community because, as we know, they don't pay taxes as a school. So that was a good meeting, but I didn't get a lot of information from it yet, other than they want to work with us and be community partnership. Stan and I met with State Representative Wilson and Senator Irwin last week. 2025 is the year of communication and what I call AI, which is accurate information. And we just wanted to meet with them and really, like you said, Treasurer Sharp, just to open up the communication. And it was a good meeting, a very good meeting. We were updated. We're going to meet once a month with them. And we did discuss our one with him as well, and the concerns that how many agencies possibly could have helped Arbor One residents before it came to the condition of anyone that ever visited it for inspection, or a social worker, or even, the police, any contact people would have had. The conditions we saw on the news were just horrible. So they agreed to continue to meet with us. They're very concerned about the conditions of the apartment, and they are working with the city of Ypsilanti as well. Then I also had a meeting with the EMU rowing team. They're going to have more events this year at Ford Lake Park. So that was good. Rowing is a really important sport for Title IX, which is women's sports. And a lot of people, at least when I was growing up, they didn't row. And now it's a sport that you can actually get a scholarship, a full ride scholarship like any other sport. They want to work more with the youth and the people at an early age so they can introduce them to this rowing sport. And they have 3 events planned. One was Row Fest, which the board already knew about. The other one was called Ford Lake Fest. And then they have MAC, I think it's called MAC. They're in the MAC League where they compete against other colleges. So it's really kind of a big deal. And our Ford Lake was man-made, but it was made for rowing like no tomorrow. They get so excited talking about what a perfect course it is. Sarasota, a lot of the competition go there, and we're going to actually have the USA row team here for one of the events, so that's exciting. I met with the Home and New Vision. They are looking for a treatment site in the community, and attended with Trustee Thornton the Oak Lawn Hawthorne Neighborhood Watch meeting. Met with and they talked about speeding improvements on, speeding's the #1 issue, and the improvements on E-Course Road for the non-motorized path and the lighting. So when we sold property from the township and we sell it to developers, the board agreed last year to set aside the funds for the redevelopment of E-Course Road. We hired and retained a transportation firm to help us with the improvements to E-Course Road. He's a former director of MDOT, and Clerk Swanson and I met with him this past week as well, just to get updated on where we're at. They're going to have a community meeting, and we're excited about the redevelopment of E-Course Road. And the city is excited about partnering with us as well, since it borders both of them. Today, we also met with the new community service officer, which is someone who attends all of our neighborhood meetings. It used to be a full-fledged deputy, but now we have a community service officer. So they're not deputized, but they can take concerns from residents, they can follow up on them, and be the liaison between the sheriff's department. So this is kind of new for us, and we met her today. I also met with Sheriff Alicia Dyer and her team, and it was a good meeting, and we expressed the contract actually expires this year. So we need to get a new contract for PSU, which is the Police Services Unit. We brought up speeding, and it's like, I can't express how often we get asked about the speeding at every neighborhood watch meeting. So she was looking at it and seeing what they could do. They did have more traffic stops. And the reason I know it is because the neighbors at one of the neighborhood watch meetings said they just appreciate the presence of the police and the safety of traffic enforcement. And that's all I have as a report. So motion to adjourn is in order.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion Peterson. Support Eldridge. All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. 6:59. didn't do nothing. Did I hit it? I'm not touching it.
Yes.